Had a meaningful conversation. What does that feel like? What does it look like to have that meaningful conversation?
For me, and I don't think these have to happen, but certainly um, conversations where I connect with the person I'm talking to or people I'm talking to um, on like a personal level, and also questions where I feel like I'm learning something or I'm questioning a perspective I have and I'm getting new information, or just a conversation where I maybe feel validated or there's that like reciprocal sharing and validation. Um, and then afterwards, I know a conversation was meaningful if I feel fulfilled and like my cup is filled up and not drained. Although meaningful conversations can also be draining. So
Yes.
that's why I don't want to say all of these things have to happen because meaningful conversations can be really like hard and difficult too. But those are big things for me, I think.
Hmm. For me, when I think of a meaningful conversation, or when I've everything that you said, Vic, but also is leaving a conversation that you don't think was meaningful, but then you find out later on that that was really meaningful for the other person, or it only comes to fruition that it was meaningful, maybe not at the moment, but there's been definitely been times where I've had conversations with someone when um, they've told me or said, "Oh, that was really important and meaningful for me," and so I always find that to be really just surprising.
Yeah, meaningful conversation for me is definitely all of those things, but it's also momentum and resonance. So there's like a ripple that happens, and I know it's a meaningful conversation when I don't find that my mind is watering. I'm very engaged. They're very engaged. Like Vic spoke about that learning piece, and then this resonance after of yes, being filled up, but also like seeing the momentum of it and also having other conversations that have branched off out of that as well because you know that you're continuing to think about it and that it's had that impact and you're really striving to make connections and meaning with everything else. um yeah, so resonance and momentum for me for sure.
Yeah, I really relate to a lot of what all of you have said so far. I think what I would add, maybe more explicitly, for me is um, like I think for me, I know I've had a meaningful conversation when I feel this like strong sense of connection, whether that's a connection to the person or to an idea or something else, but kind of like that I feel like I could have really tapped into to something there. Um, and it could be like over the silliest things too, but kind of like that feeling of connection. I think is like part of what gives meaning to me. And I also kind of building a little bit off of what you just said, Jessica. I think there's like something really meaningful. I guess also building off of Tyson too, like when you kind of like see that growth or change in yourself or others from that. Like you start like um, when you kind of like hear them mimicking later, like somebody who like maybe before did talk about something and like bringing it up and that sort of thing. You're like, oh yeah, like that's something sitting on the surface not of me or of other people. And so yeah, like when those ideas are kind of like surfacing up, or when it sparks some sort of like creativity too. Like sometimes um, I find a conversation to be really meaningful after the fact because like a week later I'll be looking at something else and then suddenly I have a new idea that's like sparked by that random conversation about this book or about this event that's just happened or whatever that is. And I think that kind of like creativity and seeing it come to life in a different way is really to me shows that it was meaningful. And still sticking with me. I guess like the root of that um, is the conversation something that kind of like goes in and out, and it's just like completely passes through me, or is it something that has kind of gotten stuck in the soil in there somewhere, and who knows what's going to grow from it, but something does grow.
Thanks for sharing. I guess one additional thing I'll ask is, does a conversation have to be, how long does a conversation need to be in order for it to be meaningful? Any thoughts on that?
My thoughts are that like you can't quantify it. I think a conversation that is very brief can be very meaningful. Even in passing, strangers converse. When you're out and about, especially pre-COVID. But like I've had lots of meaningful conversations with strangers, and they're maybe not like life changing often. Um, so for me, I think they can be any length. That's for me.
Mhm.
Awesome. That's like, all right. Well, it is 2 o'clock, so I will stop. But thank you very much.